My wife and I, in our 50s, don't have children. Due to a serious illness, we became unable to have children. Since we love children, we always studied on our relatives' children and the children in our neighborhood. So, when we were faced with the reality that we couldn't have children, we blamed ourselves. When my illness was first diagnosed, Anika, my wife, always kept a smile on her face and acted brightly around me. But I knew she was actually hurting inside. I knew because when I go to bed earlier, or when the noise from the shower muffled other sound, she'd cry trying not to make a sound. Even when Anika herself found out about her own illness, she remained strong. But as time went by, the disease consumed her, and eventually her body reached its limit. There was no other option but to remove an essential organ needed for childbirth. When the doctor discussed the operation, I couldn't face Anika right away. Her body was in such a critical condition that it needed a part removed, and that would mean she could no longer have children. How would Anika feel about this fear and almost despair? Even I, as a man, found the medical diagnosis mentally draining, and I felt guilty for not being able to fully understand Anika's feelings. Above all, I didn't know the right words to say to her, and all I could do was hold her shoulders. Looking back, the life we led after that seemed like the lowest point of our existence. The atmosphere at home was terribly gloomy, and we didn't feel like going out or doing anything. Anika even brought up divorce. I was only able to face my own illness because I had Anika. I can't imagine a life without her. So I told her, if I have to live a life separate from you, I'd rather not to live at all. A world without you is meaningless for me. Expressing my feelings, which felt almost like a threat. But this turned things around for Anika. We vowed to support each other as a family of two, and we started our new life together leading up to the present day. It's a bit quiet, with just the two of us, and sometimes lonely, we'd say during our relaxed coffee breaks, which led to the decision to have a pet. We both love dogs, and considering our ages, I knew it's hard to get a big dog. We agreed to get a little Shiba Inu, also called a Mame Shiba Inu. We named him Mamesta. Anika named him after the word Mame for Shiba, and Sta from the word start, symbolizing the beginning of our life with Mamesta. We both worked, so life was fairly busy. But financially, we were comfortable. We traveled, played in the park with Mamesta, and enjoyed our walks together. Life was fun. One day, after work, we were playing with Mamesta in the park as usual. Suddenly, Mamesta started running towards a tunnel slide in the playground. At the tunnel, Mamesta barked with his tail wagging. Curious, I looked inside and saw a little girl curled up, nibbling on the crust of a bread loaf. "Why are you here in such a dark place? Where are your father and mother?" A little girl nibbled on the crust of her bread and shook her head slightly. I thought her parents would come to pick up her soon, so I watched from a distance. However, much time had passed and there was no sign of anyone approaching the pipe where she was. It was getting dark, and considering the time, it wasn't safe to leave a child alone in the park. After consulting with Anika and searching on my smartphone, I called 189. 189 is a national hotline that allows you to notify and consult with the Child Welfare Office, specifically for handling child abuse cases. I never thought I'd have to use this number, given that our neighborhood is a very calm and quiet residential area. I nervously made the call, and the person on the other end connected me to a nearest child welfare office. Suddenly, during my conversation with the representative, Anika interrupted. It's already dark and getting late. Can we take care of her for tonight?" The person in charge consulted with what appeared to be a supervisor and said, "Well, could you be sure to come with the girl tomorrow?" I responded, "We will definitely come." After confirming our identities, he hung up the phone. I don't know if this is the best decision for the girl, but somehow I feel so sorry for her. I want to at least fill her stomach for tonight. Looking at Anika, she had a very sad expression on her face. We approached the girl in the pipe and called out to her again. "It's pitch dark around here, and it's dangerous for you to be alone in such a place. Would you like to come and have dinner with us?" The girl remained seated, covering her face, not moving. But then a pet mamesta approached the girl, playfully licking her face. Perhaps warming up to the gesture from mamesta, the girl let out a small smile. Perhaps mamesta helped ease her guard against us, and the girl walked out of the dirt pipe, being pulled along by mamesta. What we didn't notice while she was in the pipe was that her clothes were tattered. From the smell of her, it was evident that she hadn't had a proper bath in a while. She was still somewhat weary of others, and although I and Anika reached out to her, she backed away. But when he offered her mamesta's leash, she took it and stayed close to him, walking with us. Tonight's dinner was a special curry that Anika had prepared before our walk. I entrusted the girl to Anika, who would be less alone than I, a man, and had them take a bath. In the meantime, I reheated the curry and prepared some apple juice I got from a friend waiting for them. When she came out of the bath, dressed and cleaned up, the girl looked innocent and mature. She must have been very hungry because although she ate reservedly at first, when asked, "What more?" she nodded and went for seconds. All the food on the table was gone in a moment. Having had her fill, she fell asleep next to Mamesta. As I gently tucked her into bed, Anika suddenly burst into tears. Once she calmed down a bit, Anika shared something shocking. When she bathed the girl, she noticed scars and bruises all over her body, with some old wounds still evident. The long sleeves the girl wore had hidden them. Whether these injuries were strategically placed to stay hidden, or she was made to wear long sleeves to cover them up, we couldn't tell. How could someone do this to such a little child? It's unimaginable. Overflowing with emotions, both Anika and I found ourselves shedding tears together. The next day, we took the girl to the facility as instructed over the phone. As soon as we arrived, an investigation began, revealing various facts. The girl's name was Maria, and she was 8 years old. There had been multiple reports from neighbors suspecting neglect from her family. Maria's parents would leave her alone and go out to enjoy the nightlife, not returning even by morning. This seemed to be a regular occurrence. Because of this, the only proper meal Maria could have was the school lunch. At 8 years old, during their growth phase, of course she would be hungry. To stave off hunger, Maria would get the leftover bread crusts that a nearby bakery offered for free and would eat them slowly inside a drain pipe. Of course, that would not be enough nutrition for her. Maria is malnourished and has not grown to the size of an 8-year-old. Anika and I were surprised and saddened at the same time when we heard Maria's actual age. The day we took her in might have been the dividing line between life and death for her. She was extremely weak, and had the situation continued for even one more day, there could have been a risk to her life. Maria was temporarily placed in a shelter. As she was about to enter the shelter, Maria resisted, and the staff seemed to be having a hard time. So Anika, having brought a stuffed toy Shibai knew, resembling our dog from home, took it out of her bag and handed it to Maria. "Maria, these people are here to help you. It's safe with them. Please take this little one to your new home with you." Hearing Anika's words, Maria nodded and calmed down. Then, holding the staff's hand, she slowly entered the shelter. We could see Maria waving at us with a sad face. Though we had known her for less than a day, seeing her like that was heart-wrenching. And Anika and I struggled to hold back our tears. Naturally, Maria's parents were informed about this, but they never showed up in front of Maria after that. Shockingly, they said things like, "We want her to stay there forever. We'd rather pretend she doesn't exist. And we don't need her." Anika and I trembled with anger upon hearing this. I had to restrain myself from going and punching her biological parents right then and there. I'd never felt so angry before, to the point of shaking. If only I could bury people with the emotion of hate, and I was so deeply moved that I hated them out of anger. We occasionally visited Maria at the shelter. At first, Maria didn't talk much. She just listened to our stories and read picture books, hugging the stuffed toy. Once, when we went to the shelter's garden to play ball, and I threw the ball towards Maria, she instantly flinched, crouching down as if protecting herself. Seeing her react like that, I panicked and said, "I'm sorry, did I scare you? Should we play something else?" But Maria just stayed crouched, not moving. When I was flustered, Anika gently picked up Maria, comforting her, saying, "It's okay, it's not scary. How about we read a picture book?" Maria clung to Anika like a child to her mother. That night, with a serious expression, Anika began to speak to me. "You know, there's something I want to discuss." "Oh, actually, there's also something I've been wanting to discuss." "Really? Could it be?" "I think it's the same. It's about Maria." Without further discussion, our feelings were already aligned, and we decided to take Maria in. We consulted many times with people from the shelter and the office, and were told many negative things, such as the difficulties of not being the biological parents and the reactions of those around us. Just accepting this is tough, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. But Anika and I visited the administrative office many times. Eventually, the office worker judged that we would be suitable and told us, "If Maria wishes to become a family with you, then we might finally have the right to become Maria's family." This matter was also communicated to Maria's biological parents. Then they took an unexpected action. We thought they would easily let go of Maria, but for some reason, they suddenly became hesitant. When we went to visit Maria, her biological parents appeared, saying things like, "You can't possibly raise her with love when you're not her real parents." And though I don't know where they got this information, how can you two people who can't have children adopt Maria? They also made other hurtful comments. If that's the case, why did you neglect Maria all this time? Why couldn't you raise her with love? Maria's life was in danger. Huh? You don't deserve to talk to me like that. It's common sense that kids are better off with their biological parents rather than strangers. I don't think so. Let me ask you this. How many people do you think would believe that you will take care of Maria properly from now on? If there is someone who can say so with confidence, please bring them in front of me. If you're not convinced, how about this? We know that Maria was malnourished, that she had bruises and wounds all over her body. We can even go to the police with medical reports and photos if needed. For Maria's sake, we'll go to the police or even the court. We're prepared. After hearing that, they said, "You guys are such a pain," and left the shelter as if running away. That was the first and last time we saw Maria's biological parents. "Maria, would you like to become our child? Would you like to live with us as a family? I think Mamesta would be happy to have a kind sister like you." "You want me to?" she asked in a weak voice with tears in her eyes as if she was about to cry. "Of course, we'd love to have you with us. What do you think?" When she quietly nodded, Maria's relieved face, along with a somewhat apologetic and indescribable expression, left a deep impression on me. On the day we welcomed Maria into our family, we went to the shelter with our beloved Mamesta. When Maria spotted Mamesta, she ran over with joy. I felt that Mamesta's presence was slowly melting away the shadows in Maria's heart. The three of us, Anika and I, along with Maria and Mamesta, became a new family. On the day we became a family, Maria walked between Anika and me, and for the first time, we held hands together. Later, we heard that Maria's biological parents suddenly appeared at the office, apparently making a scene about not receiving the allowance for Maria anymore. Why should they, who aren't even her biological parents, receive the allowance? They have no right. I'm the one who gave birth to her. We should continue to receive it. They reportedly yelled loud enough for everyone to hear. Then a senior official told them, "The allowance is the right of those who support Maria to receive it. Initially, the right to receive the allowance belongs to Maria, not you. If you continue to behave like this, we will have our ideas." After hearing this, along with cold stares from other staff members and whispers from visitors, the biological parents awkwardly left the office. I might not have been supposed to share such personal information with others, but after all, they done to Maria. I couldn't forgive them. I'm sorry. Please just let it go. The office worker later told me this when I was there for a follow-up visit. When I got home and told Anika about it, even I could see her anger. But in the end, with a big smile, she said, "What goes around comes around. If you go bad things, you'll eventually face the consequences." But I have to be grateful for at least one thing. She gave birth to such a cute Maria. While saying this and stroking the peacefully sleeping Maria on her lap, happiness radiated from Anika. Years, more than a decade, have passed since Maria became part of our family. Anika and I have retired, and we are living our days peacefully. Anika continued her job even after adopting Maria, but always ensured quality time for the three of us as a family. Maria, who was very cautious and quiet when she first came home, has now grown up to be a college student. Not only focusing on her college lectures, but she also gives her all in her club activities and part-time job. We've been through a lot to reach this point. The struggles of not being Maria's biological parents, Maria's rebellious teenage years, and so on. But we always faced our challenges head-on, discussing and resolving them as a family of three. No matter what, Anika always showered Maria with abundant love. And Maria seems to understand that. Embracing our love, she enjoys spending time with us, sharing countless smiles, bringing us happiness. We've taken on challenges like camping, mountain climbing, skiing, and surfing. We've traveled together, soaked in hot springs, and enjoyed a parent-child moment. Of course, not without occasional quarrels, which might be a sign of how fulfilling our relationship is. Mamesta, who had been a member of our family, passed away a few years ago. There was no sign of illness, having spent over 10 years with us. On the day he passed, he was sunbathing by the window as usual. In the evening, while everyone was chatting in the living room, he slowly walked over and sat down by Maria's feet. When I came out of the bathroom, Anika and Maria were making a lot of noise. I ran into the living room to see what was going on, and Maria said, "Oh, Daddy." She was sobbing and holding Mamesta in her arms. Anika had already called the vet. I rushed over to Maria and Mamesta and called their names together. But Mamesta's reaction was very weak. The veterinarian told me to bring him to the vet immediately, so I rushed to the car and drove to the vet. When we arrived at the hospital, Mamesta tried to stand up on the examination table with all his strength, but he collapsed immediately. At that time, Maria kept crying and calling Mamesta's name. Then, with his last ounce of strength, Mamesta put his face close to Maria's and gave a weak cry. He licked Maria's tears and gently breathed his last. Anika and I were stunned by the sudden separation from Mamesta, and Maria was sobbing as she hugged Mamesta. It took a while, but after we took a deep breath and regained our composure, we talked to the veterinarian about the cause of the problem. Mamesta had never been sick and was in good health, so it was hard to believe that something was wrong with him. Besides, no abnormalities had been found during a routine checkup 2 weeks earlier. So why all of a sudden? The doctor tilted his head, as if he didn't know the cause either. Then one of the assistants said, "Maybe, but I think he was also relieved to see Maria grow up. He was at Maria's feet, right? I think Mamesta saw Maria as his little sister. He had watched Maria grow since she was a little girl and felt that she had become a wonderful woman and that she would be fine without me. That's why he was able to say goodbye to Maria with all his strength at the end of his life," she said, as if to convey Mamesta's feelings on his behalf. Later, we said our final goodbyes to Mamesta at a nearby pet ceremony. When I asked the vendor if he could share one of Mamesta's bones with us, he said, "He's a precious family member, isn't he? Don't worry, I'll prepare it for you." And he placed Mamesta's bones in a small capsule and carefully handed it to Maria with both hands. Mamesta's bones were buried in a corner of the garden overlooking the living room, where he had always basked in the sun. The capsule became Maria's precious talisman. A little later, Maria told me about the club she belonged to. Maria's club goes to kindergartens, nursery schools, and elementary schools to spend time with children, play with them, teach them how to study, and do other volunteer activities. "I want to give something back to you. Also, you retired your job. I can't continue to be spoiled," she says, working hard at her part-time job. One day, she said, "Dad, Mom, can I talk to you? I'm thinking of pursuing a career in education. I want to help children who are struggling. I'm working hard to get the necessary credits for teaching now. Would it be okay if I continue down this path?" Anika and I looked at Maria, who was looking right at us, and nodded our heads and said, "Good luck. I'll be rooting for you." I knew Maria wanted to work in education. We were filled with a genuine desire to support her. Maria successfully acquired her teaching license, graduated from college, and embarked on her journey as a school teacher. Anika and I stood at the entrance, watching her in her sharp-looking suit, taking her first step into her new life. As we did, a gust of wind blew and cherry blossom petals danced in the air. "Dad, Mom, Mamesta, I'll do my best." As Maria confidently walked away, cherry blossom petals danced again, as if Mamesta was watching over and celebrating his sister's new beginning.